Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today. My name is Sonia Siddiqui, and joining us once again is Kashif Marvi. Hi, Kashif.
Hi, Sonia. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity, and good morning, everybody.
Thank you for coming back. So Kashif has been coming back, over the years, offering us a lot of great advice regarding your PMP exams. And he's got another exciting webinar for us. I'm just going to make sure that everyone is properly connected. So I'm going to go over our tech here. So please note that you are all on listen only mode. So we will not be able to hear you, but Kashif will be taking your questions towards the end of his presentation. So please hold off on all questions. And once you, towards the end of the presentation, you can type them into the Q&A tab found at the bottom of your screen. It says Q&A. So type your questions there. And for best results, please use a laptop or a desktop computer. If you are using mobile devices such as cell phones or tablets, it's probably best to download the Zoom app for best results. And just to tell you a little bit about ACCES, we've been around for over 30 years helping job seekers such as yourselves. Just in the past year alone, we were able to serve 34,000 job seekers, and we work with over 2,200 employer connections. And this number is always growing because we've got a dedicated team of job developers who are always reaching out to new employers so that they can see what kind of job seekers we have here and hire from us. And we've got over 30 tailored programs, which include our sector-specific bridging programs as well. And we've got lots of programs for pre-arrival, for women, for youth, so for us, of course, for newcomers as well. So if you are interested, go to our website, check them out, and reach out to us to see if we can help. I know that everything is online right now, but we do have 6 physical locations in the GTA, with our 7th newest location opening up in Newmarket. But right now, everything is online in our online virtual location. So all of our programs are being run online. So it's business as usual. It's just that everything is done virtually or over the phone. And if you do require assistance with your job search, I will let you know towards the end of the presentation how to get in touch with one of our employment consultants. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and Kashif, you can share your screen at this point.
Okay.
Perfect.
Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So we can start?
Yes.
Okay, so once again, thank you, Sonia, for and ACCES Employment too for giving this opportunity. And again, good morning to everybody, those who have joined a bit late. My name is Kashif, and I'll be presenting the session today. What we'll do is that we'll go, so the presentation is roughly 45 minutes, and then we'll have a couple of minutes, 15-20 minutes for all your question answers. We'll try to answer as much as we can. If not, then you can connect later on and then send me either question answers or send it over to Sonia, and then we'll try to give you the answers as much as we can. Our presentation is roughly what we'll discuss is that first of all, we'll look at what is PMI and what is value for this PMP certification. We'll go through overview of the PMP exam. We'll look at the project management framework. We'll look at the study strategy and the study plan. We'll look at what are the resources through which we can study. And then lastly, we'll look at what are the exam changes. So I'll just start my presentation. Okay, so a little bit of introduction in detail for me. I have experience as a project manager, as a project auditor, as an agile coach, and of course, as a PMP exam prepare instructor. I'm a PMP certified. I've got ACP. I'm a Scrum Master. I've got Six Sigma certification, and I also have Master certificate in project management. I have worked in banking, telecommunication, and service industry, so Deloitte, for quite a number of years. I've been teaching PMP certification I prepare people for PMP certification. I'm doing it since 2003. And apart from this, I do a lot of voluntary work here in Canada. I'm a board member at a couple of new immigrants center. I'm a mentor at RIKE. I volunteer at Red Cross, and I help new immigrants in project management, career advice, and in their resume building and interview preparation. And as you can see here on the screen, I received a couple of certifications, a couple of appreciation certifications from different ministers for my voluntary work. Going forward, we'll look at what is PMI and the Project Management Institute, and what is the value for PMP certification. Because unless and until it adds up value of whatever profession you are, there is no, so first of all, you need to understand that what value does it bring and how relevant it is for, if you are coming over to Canada, and if you are already here in Canada, then what value it will bring. So PMI is an abbreviation of Project Management Institute. It was formed in 1969. It is headquartered in Pennsylvania. It is one of the largest professional membership association with presence in 215 countries, and they offer 8 globally recognized certification. Now, this is very important because those of you who are already here in Canada, or those of you who are planning to come to Canada, or you already have your PR card and you are planning to come very soon, when you come to Canada, a lot of time people have this problem that their experience and their certification from wherever back home they are is not recognized over here in Canada. But PMP is that certification which is equally recognized over here in Canada, as well as USA, as well as in Europe, Africa, Asia, Pakistan, India, from wherever you come. So once you get this certification, even from here, and if you go back to your home country, or if you work anywhere else in African country or any other European country or Asian country, then nobody will ask you that, did you get this PMP certification from Canada, and what about in Europe, or what about in Asia? Like, you might have seen that if you do your, those of you who are from finance background, and if you have done your CA from India or from Pakistan or from South Africa or anywhere, when you come over here, there you are always asked that, have you done your CA from here? And if not, then you'll have to do CPA. And again, CPA is different in Canada and in America and all. But this PMP certification is only one certification which is globally recognized. So that is how it is a big value addition over here. And we'll talk about it in a second as well. So right now, this PMP certification has almost more than 1 million credential holders. And in Ontario, it is, so there are 6 local chapters. And as you can see it on the screen, with different areas wherever you reside, there are different chapters, and these chapters basically organize different seminars and webinars and different research things, so that you are you can earn your PDUs and you can improve your post certification skills as well. This is just a fact file where you can see that PMP professional, as of 30th of November 2019, passed more than 1 million certificate holders. And of course, between 30th of September and 25th of May, even though it is COVID, so there are a lot of other, there might be more people who have passed PMP certification. And then again, different certifications that are offered by PMI. We'll talk about it in a second, but these are different certificate holders. Okay, so these are the 8 certifications by PMI. The first one, CAPM, which is for those project managers who are new, who are entry level, who don't have any sort of experience. And so basically those college graduates who have zero experience for them, it is more geared towards theoretical aspects rather than practical. And these are all the requirements for sitting. So there are different requirements. I won't go into detail of all of them. You can also get it from the website, but we'll go into PMP in a bit. Okay, so the second certification is PGMP, which is more for those people or those project managers who work in big, huge organization programs and work in strategic level. PFMP, which is basically for those project managers who work on portfolios, PMI ACP is for those project managers who work in agile practices in the organization. PMI PBA is for those people who work as a business analyst and who are more into, or their main job profile is gathering business requirements and business analysis. So it is basically for those business analyst professionals. PMI RMP is that specialist role for those project managers or for those people who are very heavily involved in project risk. So it's a specific certification. And PMI SP, a scheduling professional, is for those who work on huge schedules. So for large multi-billion-dollar projects, even as a project scheduler, you need, it's a full-time job, and then you need to manage those schedules. So it is for those certifications. PMP is for those people who have experience and competencies in leading the team. And as far as the requirement is concerned, you should be either a minimum, you should be a high school graduate, or you can be a 4 years bachelor. And then on that basis, now this 4-year bachelor is very important because if you are again in Canada, or if you are planning to come to Canada, this bachelor doesn't mean that you have to have this bachelor's from Canada or from USA, even though the organization is USA based. But because this organization and the certificates it offered, all these certificates are globally recognized. So one good thing is that this bachelor, even if you are from USA, or you are from Canada, or you are from any different part of the world, this bachelor would stand good. So even like, for example, in Asia, it's like a 14 years, you can get this bachelor. In Canada is different requirement, but this bachelor, it only has to be a bachelor of 4 years bachelor, and it will stand good. With this, you have to have 4,500 hours of experience working in a project. So not as a project manager, because a lot of people have this confusion, and always tell them that PMI, you are going for a PMP certification. So they already know that you are not a certified project manager. But if you have worked in organization in a project, you should be part of the project. You should have worked in different domains. That is this 4,500 hours of experience, which roughly comes to 2 years, 2.5 years. It roughly comes to this much. And then you have to have 35 hours of education. So PMI related or project management related education. And we'll talk about it also in a second. Okay, so what are the reasons for earning a PMP certification? What value addition does it bring? So first and foremost, it recognizes your knowledge, skills, and abilities as a project manager. Second, most important of all, that it is globally recognized certificate, as I spoke in the previous slides, which is equally valued and recognized in Canada. It reflects achievement. If your resume goes to a hiring manager, and if he or she sees PMP written in front of your name, it automatically means that you are at least a graduate or a high school. So at least a graduate, you have a minimum 4,500 hours of experience working in a project, and then you have at least you have gone through minimum 35 hours of project management specific experience. So these are the standard requirement. And then it gives a bit of a comfort to those hiring managers or the recruiters. It definitely increases your salary. It's a career advancement in your current profile and organization. It's when you go for PMP, the employers appreciate this a lot, because you are taking an extra step in your professional development. Of course, it will bring you you'll have a competitive advantage in a job market, and it differentiates you as a certified professional. So if in front of a hiring manager, there are two project managers sitting equally, all the experience, the domain they've worked on, everything is the same. But if one has a PMP certification and if one doesn't, of course the one with the PMP certification is always preferred over there. And then very important, and especially for Canada, that you can enter into various domains. So it is I think 5 or 10 12 years back, it was 10 years back, it was a taboo that if you have done a project management, or if you are going for a project manager, if you are a project manager, then it means that you are only in IT industry. That is not the case. Project managers are in IT, banking, construction, telecommunication, social services, finance, medical, in all the fields. Now the project management and the PMP is getting more and more popularity. And one more thing which is very important is that because you understand the framework, which we'll discuss in a couple of slides, and you understand this framework, so you always have a chance of shifting your domain. So you don't have like, if a person is a finance professional, if he has worked in a banking industry, then there is a taboo that he can only move into banking industry. And no, because if he has spent like 10 or 12 or 13 years or 20 years in a bank, then he cannot go into any other domain. But that is not the case in a project manager. So project management. So I know a lot of my mentees, know a lot of my students who have worked in banking industry in a couple of projects, and the second project they got in an IT industry, then they moved into telecommunication. So telecommunication, banking, they move a lot. They can go into construction, medical. So all these fields are open for them. It is not restricted to any specific domain, and you cannot have a specific domain saying that you are a project manager in construction. Of course, it depends upon your experience as well, but it is not fixed to any one particular domain. So these are these are a couple of slides, are just a snapshot of I was going through the internet, and this in Canada there's a very big educational institute called Global Knowledge, and they did a study of what are the top 15 top paying IT certifications for 2020. And if you can see over here, project manager, or project management or PMP stands at the 5th place. So that is, you can see that out of all the IT certifications for 2020, PMP is the 5th topmost paying certification. There was also a study by PMI, which is on job growth and talent gap from 2017 up till 2027. And they have identified that there in up till 2027, there might be 2.2 million. So this is all over the world, but there might be 2.2 million vacancies, or they need project managers to fill these gaps. And a lot of focus is there from India and China, which represents more than 75% of the total project management oriented employment. But if you get this publication, then there are country-wise growth over there. So if you see this map, you can see that most the areas which is most popular and there where there are where there would be talent gaps are Canada, USA, Brazil, UK, Germany, and so on and so forth. And the leading sectors where a lot of jobs will be advertised in the coming years is manufacturing and construction, information systems, finance, oil and gas, utilities, and management professional systems. So those who are from the finance field, they know that now even Deloitte and KPMG and all these service industries, they are also requiring project managers, even if they are going for internal audit or external auditors, because a lot of companies have raised questions saying, but each and every external audit you do is a project in itself, and how come your auditors are not project managers, and you do these projects and you conduct these external audits? So really you can see that how much focus is there. This is just a snapshot from a website called PayScale, and you can also go over there and see. So salary and this is specifically for Canada. So salary certification and at an average, a professional, a project manager with a PMP certification earns at an average 91K Canadian dollars per year. And of course, it depends upon each and every individual person's experience and the domain they have already worked in. But if you are a project manager, a journal, unspecified project manager, so you can earn anywhere around 84K as an average. In information security, it's a bit higher, so 87K. And if you are a senior project manager with IT experience or any other domain, you can roughly go around 101K for a year. in different titles or different areas. So project manager in construction earns somewhere around 84, in IT around 126, and different designation depends upon how much experience you have. Similarly, you can see on this website different organizations as well, and then their ranges of salaries they offer. So for example, in CGI, somewhere between 53 to 139K, again, depending upon how much experience you have. For IBM, from 72 to 153K, and so on and so forth. Okay, so now we will jump into Pmr Pmp Exam Overview, and we'll see that what this project management is all about, what is this certification all about, and what is the framework looks like. So PMP exam is administered by Pearson VUE Testing Center. For during this COVID, they have proctored exam. You can sit at home, and in a couple of slides more, we'll talk in detail about this. That how does it work? So this PMP exam is a 4-hour exam with 15 minutes tutorial, just to let you know that how would you navigate on a computer while you're sitting for the exam. Some of the people might be sitting in a computer based testing environment for the first time. So this 50 minutes tutorial is all about that. We've got 200 multiple choice questions. So for each and every questions, there are 4 possible answers, and one of the answer is correct, which you have to take. There are 175 questions which are for scoring, and then there are 25 questions which are not scored, and it might be there to test your new concepts. So you might look at those questions and you might think that I have gone through the whole PIM book, I've gone through the whole study, but really this area I have not studied. So whether it was missed or I missed something, no, it is not like that. They normally test new concepts, and then on the basis of the understanding of the people sitting in the exam of these new concepts, they make their changes in PIM book and their course structure and all those things. The passing percentage is undisclosed, but a couple of years back it was 62%. They had specified, but now they don't. They just say pass, average, above average, below average, or average. So they don't give specific percentages. But as a rough estimate, we rough estimate is that somewhere around 61 to 65 could be the passing percentage, because 62% was there a couple of years, I think around 7 years back, 8 years back it was there. So on the basis of that, this is just a rough estimate. In PMP exam, there are 5 domains, and we'll talk about it in detail as well. But initiation is 13%, planning is 24%, executing is 31%, monitoring and control is 25%, and closing is around 7%. And then there are a couple of questions on professional and social responsibilities and ethics. So Proctor, the PMP is during these COVID season, when people are restricted to go into physical testing centers, they have introduced proctored exam, but there are some requirements for this. So yeah, of course you can sit at home and you can give this PMP exam, but really this exam is a highly challenging exam, and it brings a lot of revenue increases for your salary increases and a lot of career opportunities. So really it is not that simple that you can just sit in the exam, sit at home and give the exam. So there are certain criteria for that. So you have to be in a quite private location with walled room, closed doors, and no distraction at all. You should definitely be having a very reliable internet service and a webcam. Nobody is permitted into the room. If anybody enters in the room, your exam will immediately be terminated. So even just to enter over in the room, it will be terminated. So you have to really have a close location. No, of course, no assistance from any individual would be allowed. Nobody should be able to see the computer screen, or nobody should be looking at the computer screen. Of course, with the person who is giving the exam. So apart from that, nobody else. Proctor will be continuously monitoring you through video and audio, which means that you have to have, before you start your exam, you have to sign a, or you have to give your consent that you will be audio and video recorded of your face, your voice, your physical room, where are you sitting, and even during the exam. If at any place you wish not to be recorded, your exam will be terminated immediately. So basically, it means that during the exam, you have absolutely no right to privacy, at least for those straight 4 hours. So you don't have any privacy during that time. And I really don't know that I really need to check somebody who has given the exam, because of course when you go for physical exam, if you want to go out for toilet and all the, for washroom, all these things, you are allowed to go. There are very strict criteria for, they do all your body search, and you have to sign, and you have to give your ID card and all these sort of thing. When you go to the washroom and you come back, because of course it's outside the testing center, when you come back again, they do your body search, they record your time, everything is there. So I really don't know that how that works over here. But of course, I mean, you can always give answer. And of course, if there are any specific conditions for anybody, I'm really not sure that how they would be managing that. But anyway, these are the requirements, and if any specific questions are there, you can always write to PMI, and they'll be, within a day they'll be able to answer your questions. So what is project management framework, which we are talking about for such a long time, that project management, and it's a globally recognized framework. And so what it is all about. So this slide is all about project management. So project management consists of a couple of knowledge areas. So there are 10 knowledge areas for the time being. There are a couple of process groups, and within this vertical and horizontal knowledge areas and vertical process groups, there are 49 processes. So this slide means that this is the whole framework for project management. This is how it looks like. So you can see over here that there are 10 knowledge areas, starting from integration, scope, schedule, cost, quality, resources, communication, risk, procurement, and stakeholder. And then there are 5 process groups. So initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and controlling. And during this, within these matrix, there are different processes which are very carefully placed in a matrix. So even in executing, like let's say manage quality, so it is under quality management, quality knowledge area with under executing. This framework means that in initiating, you only work on business cases, charter, stakeholder management. In planning, you look at all the requirements, you plan, you manage or you identify the risk, you plan for the risk, schedules, and you maintain the triple constraints. In executing, you do the execution of whatever plan you have, you do procurements, and you manage your vendors. In monitoring and control, you check that how you're executing and you're planning. So you're executing according to the plan, how is it working, and if there are any changes, you raise change requests, you look at the variances, and then in closing, you close the project. So this is just a helicopter view of project management framework. And as you can see that these are very simple steps. You might already be doing it for a lot of other things. So it's not something rocket science that, oh, it's a very difficult certification, it's a very difficult domain. It's just very simple common sense and very logically maintain all these processes. Okay, for now, for each and every process, there are certain inputs, tools, techniques, and outputs, very commonly known as ITTOs. So inputs are all those items, internal, external, that are required by the process before that process begins. During that process, you either have some tangible tools such as any software, MS Office, or any other plan view, any other software that you are doing for a monitor program, or you apply your techniques, which are those tangible, your own skills and procedures or techniques, which you can perform on these items or internal external items. And then at the end, you get this output. So for each and every process that you do, for each and every process, sorry here. So for each and every process that you do, there are certain inputs, there are certain tools and techniques to collect the requirement, and then at the end there are certain outputs. So after you collect the requirement, you might be getting a BRD or business requirement document. So these are, so for all these 49 processes, you need to know, or you need to understand the input, output, tools and techniques, and that is what the whole framework is around. So 49 processes, and then for each and every process, certain ITTOs, 10 knowledge areas, and 5 domain, 5 process groups. So study strategy. What should your study strategy be like? So see, and I tell you that how did I study for this? So for, as I said, that for each and every project, for each and every process, you have those certain ITTOs, and really that is, if you look at PMBOK, which is the latest version, version 6, it consists of roughly about 900 pages. So all those, everything which we talked about is described in detail in those 900 pages. Now let's say, for example, for this acquired, we'll just take 3 processes and we'll just try to dissect this one process, which is develop team. So for under executing and under resource management, there are 3 processes: acquire resources, develop team, and manage team. Now for each and every one, you see that there are certain input, tools and techniques, output, input, tools and techniques, output. What I did was that after studying these input, tools and techniques, I tried to make a one pager, right? So if you see over here, this page is roughly divided into 4 different areas. So the first one is that what this process of develop project team is all about. Then if we look at, so these are, so if we look at these input, so these are 3 input, and what in roughly in just one liner, that what this input is all about, what these different tools and techniques is all about. So all these 6 tools and technique, and then as far as these 2 outputs, so these are it. So what happens is that if you make a note like this, so at the end of the exam, like at nearly at the end of my preparation, and just 2 or 3 or 4 days before the exam, I only had these 49 pages to revise, rather than going through the whole 900 pages book and revising. So even if you study that 900 book and 900 pages book, but at the end of the just before the exam, if you're not able to revise the whole book, it's basically useless. And you might have given a lot of exams where you might have sit in the exam, and then you would have realized that, oh, really, I have read this question, I know the answer, but because I didn't revise, I don't know it right now. So that is very important. So this revision part is extremely important for you to manage, and this is one of the way how you can manage. One thing which a lot of comments I get is that PIM book, which is the book which is a book published by PMI for preparation of PMP exam. This book is very dry, so I get a lot of comments from this people that this book is very dry, and once we start reading the book, it doesn't make any sense. And the first we read the first 50 pages, and it's not making any sense and all these things. So one technique, or one uh, major thing which you need to realize is that PIM book is in a vertical format. So once you, after the first 3 chapters, of course, which is just an introduction and all those things, once you start initiating, once you read about the develop or project charter, the second process over there would be develop project management plan. Then you'll go into the third subsection would be direct and manage project work. You'll learn about this. Then you learn about manage project knowledge. Then the fifth one is monitor and control project work. There again, you look at perform integrated change control, and then you look at close, you read about close manage, close project or phase, and you get extremely confused. Up till here it might be okay, but when you come at this subsection, you come at this subsection, you come at this, you are almost sure that this is the most boring book of all. But the thing is that the PIM book format is vertical, but the processes, practically all the processes are horizontal, which means the very first process in all these 49 processes are logical steps. But the very first process is project charter. The second is identify stakeholder. The third is develop project management plan scope, collect requirement, blah, blah, all those things. So it goes into this, which means that once when you're reading the book, you read this, you read this section, it talks about identify stakeholder and you have not read it up till now. When you come over here, there are references to different parts from this section, but you have not read it. And you get extremely confused that where these things are coming from because you don't know those terms, you have not read about those things, and it is coming over here. When you read here, when you reach here by anyhow and you read perform integrated change control, you are bound to get confused. But if you know the structure of the book, that the book is vertically made and the processes are horizontal, then it would make sense to you and you would be able to understand the book in a much proper way. Because now when you're reading this thing, you know for sure that the other references would come in a while. Okay, so what should be your strategy for PMP exam? So always use one book, and I would always recommend you to use PIM book as a base because of course PIM book is issued by PMI itself, and it is the when PMI administers the exam or when they take the exam, of course whatever is written in PIM book is correct for them, not any other book. However, there are other books, and we'll talk about it in a second. But Rita is there, which is a very good book to strengthen your concept for those people who have not worked much in project management domain or in this project management field. They can use Rita to strengthen those concepts. And if somebody has really worked as a project manager for the past 4 years, 5 years, then for them, PIM book is more than enough because now they'll get they get to understand the formal education of what or the formal understanding of what project management is for them. It might not be a problem. So you need to get through through PIMBO at least 3 times. So the first time, just read horizontally, mark important concepts on the book, and prepare notes for revision as I showed you before. The second time, so you are reading this thing vertically, and then the second time you look at all those processes vertically in the form it is there in a process form. You do those, and then in the third time when you are revising PIM book, you refer only to your notes, and you go and refer PIM book or Rita only when you are stuck at that any concept. So you look at that revision sheet, and then you realize that, oh, I don't even remember that what this concept is, or I need to have more understanding. That is where you go back and reach that. So which means that that whole process group, we have got 5 process groups, so the whole process group you should be able to finish in 1 hour, which means that the whole PIM book you should be able to finish in 5 hours. So this is one of the technique you might use. If you are going and solving question and answers, then try to solve it conceptually, which means that you should have quality over quantity. There is no point in solving 4,000 or 5,000 question and answers, and at the end you don't even understand the concept. You don't even understand that if you are picking up a project right in the middle, so what stage you are in. You need to read the question and you need to understand that what stage, and then there might be questions saying what is the first document you will be asking. So it all depends that what. So you need to solve the question answer, and you need to really look at those answers which are correct and which are wrong as well. So for example, even if you have take the answer which is later on which you'll see that it is correct, you might want to go and look at the description of those answers to see that why the other 3 are wrong, because that will give you a very good understanding. You should use a separate strategy for revision 3 or 4 days before the exam, and you should be able to practice enough to write all the 49 processes, 15 formulas within 5 minutes on a piece of paper. And really right now it might look to you a bit difficult, but when I take classes, I make sure that within the 3rd class or the 4th class, everybody is able to write all the 49 processes as it is on the matrix on a piece of paper, because that is very important for you to do. My 3 tips is that do not overstudy, right? Do not try to be a PhD in project management. Once you pass that, there is always a different style of working and passing the exam rather and then looking right now. If I study 10 or 20 even different books, I don't need to pass the exam. I've already passed my exam. So for exam study, you have to be extremely focused and you have to be extremely, you don't have to overstudy. It is very important that you should have your concepts clear because the whole exam is conceptual. They you might get a lot of short scenarios, and those scenarios you would only be able to understand unless and until you have those concepts clear. And just try to make, even if you are using Rita or Pimbook or Indigo Brown, whatever book you are making, just make one book as your base. Don't, if you'll go on internet, there are, just write project management resources or project management books, you'll get millions of books. Okay, so don't try to read each and every book, just try to use one book as a concept. And that is how I always advise my students that you should always use Pimbook as your base, and wherever you feel that that concept in Pimbook is not very you are not able to understand it clearly, or it's very difficult, always go in that specific concept, try to clear it from Rita, from Google, from wherever you want to do it, but just keep one book as a base. So that is my tip to you guys. Okay, now your study plan. So you've seen this whole framework. You should spend at least 40% of your time in integration management, the whole thing, because this is really where the project management starts and where it ends. You should spend almost 15% of time in planning, because this whole project management framework right now is a waterfall approach. So there's a lot of emphasis on planning as well. You should spend almost 50% and 15% of your time in controlling a schedule, because this is really where you'll identify the variances and you'll see that how well your plan is working in the execution phase. You should spend almost 10% of your time on stakeholder management, because you are doing project not for yourself, but you are doing project for somebody else. You are only managing the project, and else that somebody else is a stakeholder. So you should spend 10% of your time in looking at these stakeholders. You should spend 10% of your time in understanding teams, because again, you are a project manager. You don't work yourself, but you manage people, right? You manage to get the work done, and that management can only be done through people. So you should spend this much time in understanding the concept. And very important of all, a lot of people I've seen fail the exam just because they don't study much in closing, and they take it very lightly, saying, okay, yeah, but the whole project management is done and it is just a closing phase or close project, but they normally fail in this. So very important that you should spend 10% of your time in closing project or phase. The resources. If you see over here, this is the Pimbook 6th edition. So this Pimbook, along with the Agile practice guide, is being issued by PMI. There is also Vita, which is a very good resource. Then there are many other resources by Andy Crow, or there are a couple of question answer books published by PMI itself, and other resources as well. So there are many resources, but these are a couple of resources which I always recommend, because they are extremely focused towards exam, and you'll be able to, I mean, if you study good, then you'll be able to pass the exam in first try with these resources. Just a quick film strip of project management PIM book. So if you see in 1996, when the first edition was published, there were 196 pages with 9 knowledge areas and 37 processes. In 2004, the ITTOs were introduced of 592 ITTOs, and right now in 2017, the pages from 176, they are about 924 pages with 10 knowledge areas, 49 processes, and roughly about 722 ITTOs. They are normally repeated as well, but then roughly it is somewhere around this. So you can see this thing. 7th edition is almost complete. If I'm not mistaken, anytime they'll be issuing it. Most probably somewhere in July. The date is not announced yet, but somewhere in July. So of course there'll be a lot of other changes as well. Exam changes. So you guys are lucky, because the exam was changing on 30th of June, but just due to COVID, it has been postponed till 2nd of January 2021. So you still have roughly 6 months to go for the exam, which is more than enough for anybody to sit for the exam. So there be a lot of changes. Instead of 5 domains, there'll be 3 domains now: people, processes, and business environment. And then the whole project management. Right now, the whole framework is waterfall approach. On the basis of waterfall approach, it will be 50% waterfall and 50% agile and hybrid approach. So yeah, sure, it would be a bit difficult for a lot of people. Just a quick view that these domains, so 5 domains over here, the exam coverage is roughly this much, which we already spoke about, and the number of tasks are 42. In the new domain, in the new exam changes, there'll be 3 domains. Exam coverage will be 42, 50, and 8%, and there'll be 35 tasks. A lot of people come to me and say, yeah, but instead of 5, now we'll have to understand only 3 domains. Yeah, it is correct, but I think a lot of people don't realize this thing, that this whole process of the framework will now be consolidated into only one area, which would, this whole thing would be 50%. So really there is like 42% and 8%, roughly 50% new areas that will be introduced. So they have to mindful of this. And of course, as I said, 50% of it will be waterfall and 50% hybrid or agile approach. This is a very quick comparison of old syllabus and new syllabus, where you can see that this whole area is all about how do you cost, how do you plan, how do you approve changes, and all these things. And this whole area is roughly covered in process. So the same thing: plan and manage budget, resources, schedule, quality, scope, and then a lot of emphasis is on how do you lead team, support team, empower team, train team, build team, which are really what a project manager should be doing. And then, which was the area which was never here, was business environment, where you need to really look and whatever you are delivering, does it really benefit and does it really value the business or not? And they supporting the organizational change of an organization. So last slide from my side, PMP is a doable certification. It just needs your focus and dedication. Preparation can be done anywhere between 1 to 2 months. Of course, it depends upon your studying habit. It depends upon how do you study, how dedicated you are, what are your commitments in terms of family, in terms of studying. I would very highly recommend everybody to go for the exam or for the certification before the exam changes in January 2021. And you should also take this quarantine time as a blessing in disguise, because first of all, you are locked up at home. Of at least, I don't know if anybody else is from any part of the world and how they are doing it, but then in Canada, you are literally, so you are locked up at home. The exam date has been extended. There is an opportunity for you to appear for the exam in the comfort of your home. If you are already on a job, you are working from home, which means that you are saving a lot of time in traveling, in getting dressed, and a lot of other things which you could now utilize in studying for this PMP exam. At least I saved 3 hours of my daily time in commuting. And I've been told in my organization that at least up till September, October, we would not be allowing anybody to come to the office. So of course, I mean, I'll be so, and this might be a cases with a lot of people. So if you're on job, you're working from home, and if you're jobless, then of course a lot of places, in fact most of the places, there's a hiring freeze. So you don't, even if you want to apply for a job, even if you want to go for an interview, you are not able to do so right now because there's a hiring freeze. So remember, this is a time, and you should take this time as a blessing in disguise. And then again, my last thing is that if you don't come out of this quarantine with a new skill or a more increased knowledge, then you never lack time, you lack discipline. So you should be considerate of this. And with this, we come to the end of my presentation. My contact details are here: email address, my cell phone number. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, you can connect me. This is my institute through which I give my PMP certification trainings, Agile Institute of Professional Services. You can connect me on any of the venues, LinkedIn, Facebook. You can email me if you have any questions. You can WhatsApp me on my cell phone. Uh, so literally, I'm like accessible. You can, sorry, you can. Let me open up that. I think I. Okay. Yeah, so you can look at hook me up with any of the different areas. And just a last thing from my side is stay home, stay safe, and stay positive. I mean, take these all these. If you're on job, be safe. If you're not on job, of course things will be changing, and you'll be able to very soon you'll be able to get that opportunity. And really, whenever the time comes, after 2 months, 3 months, when these all things will be settled down, COVID issues will be settled down, and you'll be able to go for job, at that time you should be fully prepared. At that time, it should not be that in August or in September or October, if there are interview calls, and then you'll start studying for PMP, that, oh, I'm getting a lot of calls where they are asking for PMP certification. So you start at that. So, that's why I said that you should take this blessing in disguise and stay positive and be prepared for what it is coming. So thank you all. And if there are any questions, Sonia, if there are any questions, I'll try to answer all of those. But if we run out of time, you can email me, you can WhatsApp me, and we'll try to give you the answer as much as we can. So over to you,
Thank
Sonia.
you. Thank you, Kashif. Great presentation. You've covered a lot. So we do have some questions here. We'll leave this slide up for everyone to see your contact information if they have any questions after. But I'm going to start taking up the questions that you have typed into the Q&A tab here. If someone's in the civil engineering background, would they be eligible for PMP certification as well?
Yeah, of course. And looking at the profession here in Canada, there are a lot of construction, construction organization, and each and every construction project you do, or each and every civil project that you do,
Mm-hmm.
is a project in itself. So of course you are eligible, and there is a huge demand for PMPs in a construction industry, or project managers in construction industry.
Thank you. And during the exam, are they allowed to have, is it an open book? Can you refer to your PIM book while writing the exam? Are you allowed to bring in like blank sheets of paper with you during the exam?
So normally when you go to the testing center, so first of all, PMP exam is a closed book exam, so it's not an open book. And really, even if it would have been an open book, you wouldn't have time, because if you look at 200 questions, and then the time, which is 4 hours, it really gives you only 1 minute and 20 seconds at the maximum for you to attempt for each and every exam. So no, it is not. And when I don't know that how proctored exam works, but when you go on the physical location, they give you not a piece of paper, but a but a plastic sheet with a erasable marker. So you can write if you want to write any notes, or if you want to do any calculation, and then they take it off from you. So you are not allowed to take out anything out of the testing center.
Oh, I see. Thank you for clarifying that. And while people are practicing their mock tests, how would they know that they're fully prepared to attempt the actual exam? Like, what scoring do you think that they will be getting on their mock test would help them realize that they're ready for the actual test?
So see, this is a very technical question, because normally
Mhm.
what happens is that if you are getting free resources from internet, and if you attempt the exam, you'll normally get 98%, 99%, and you'll be overconfident that, oh, I'm fully prepared for the exam. Sometimes if you buy those exam questions, they are of course they are expensive. And then what happens is that if you don't get required percentages, you might get a bit less confident over it. So, well, it all depends, but roughly, if on an exams, if you on the mock exams, if you get roughly around 80 to 90% exam, then that means that you are somewhere prepared to go for the real exam. But really, as my point over there, that understanding the concept is extremely important because this is a non-disclosed exam. So whatever resources you refer, it doesn't mean that those in the exam, it will be same questions coming. So if your concepts are clear, then you'll be able to pass exam very quickly.
Thank you, Kashif. And where can they get these sample mock tests from?
So they can get it from different areas. So on the internet, there are again paid services as well where you can get. There are a couple of books as I showed. There are a couple of books issued by the PMI itself, and they can get it from there.
Thank you. And is there any way that people can get support with their application submission?
So yeah, I mean, when people register with me for the exam, of course, I support them with. It all depends that what sort of experience they have, and it's very technical because sometimes 10% of the applications are they go for audit as well, and then they ask questions about your experience and all those things. But yeah, I mean, it all depends. People can support you. A lot of other project managers who have already passed the exam, or
Mm-hmm.
they can support you as well. And we do support when we give the exam, when people come to us for training, so we support them as well.
Thank you, Kashif. And some people are asking about the recording. Yes, you will get a recording within the next 48 hours of this webinar, so you'll be able to watch it again in case you've missed anything. And okay, so next question here. How do you prove your hours of experience? Like, do you need to get a letter from somewhere? What is the process?
So you need to give the references of your superior or your
Mm-hmm.
supervisor, whoever was there in the project, and you need to give a brief description of of what you have performed in that domain in that project. So that is there, and as I said, that it all depends that how do you write that experience, right? So sometimes what happens is that 10% of those applications are selected for audit, and then they'll require detailed explanation, and there's a whole process of how they deal with audit. So that is done. Otherwise, they normally take it in good faith, and they judge it on the basis of whatever you have written.
Thank you, Kashif. And so some people are still overseas. They have their PRs and they're waiting to land in Canada whenever it's a good idea to. So they're wondering if it is a good idea to get their PMP before landing in Canada, or should they wait until they come here?
No, of course, as I said, that it's a globally recognized certification. So
Mm-hmm.
one, it's a very good idea if you are able to, and if you get the PMP certification before even you land in Canada, so you don't waste any of your time. And really, if you get that PMP certification from here, from anywhere else, from your home country, it doesn't make any difference because it's a globally recognized certification. Or even on the certificate itself, it is not stated the country from where you got that certification. It only states that you got this certification from PMI.
Thank you. And could you, how many PD hours do you need again?
Roughly 4,000. Oh, that is 35 hours of
35
education.
PDU
Yeah.
hours, okay. And they have to be from a certified professional? Like, how does that work? Like,
Yeah, it is that from certified professional, but it all depends. There are many, there are registered education providers, there are unregistered educational providers. It all depends that from where you get it, but yeah, you can get it from anywhere.
thank you. And what's a good strategy to start studying? Should you start with the like mock test first and then dive into the book, or should you do the book first and then start doing the questionnaires and tests?
No, the logical sequence is that you should go through the book first,
Mm-hmm.
and you make your concepts clear, and then at the last stage you go into a question answer. I've got a different school of thought where I don't even go through any of the question answers because I focus more on clearing the concepts rather than, because again it's a non-disclosed. So you wouldn't know the answer, you wouldn't have seen the question unless and until you sit in the exam. And at that stage, if your concepts are very clear, then only you will be able to understand the scenario well, rather than going through 3,000 or 2,000 question and answers and then trying to sit in the exam and thinking that, oh, what is this concept about?
Thank you. And can you explain the registration process about how they can convert their experience into the hours? needed?
So this application process is online when you first try to register when you try to register for the PMI exam, and it's a online where they'll ask you that what was your project about, a very brief description of the project, what was your details of your supervisor, so his name, his email address, his telephone number, and then the brief description of 5 domains and what work have you done in each and every domain. So you need to explain that if you have done any work in initiating or in executing and in closing the project, and what work have you done. So this is how you, and then you have to write the hours in below, saying that and you can write multiple projects. So multiple projects and consolidated, it should come to 4,500, minimum 4,500 hours. But then you have to write different hours in below, and this is how you fill up your application.
Thank you. And do you know if there's any grants by the Canadian government to be able to pay for the PMP?
No, this is a professional certification. So all the grants, all those things are only for academics. So if you are doing MBA, for example, I don't know in detail, but but this sure I know that if you go for Sheridan College, if you are doing those academic certification, MSc, MA, your MBA, so for those grants are there. But all the professional certifications, if you go for CPA, if you go for PMP, if you go for CFA, if any of those professional certification, you don't get grant for it, because these are professional certifications. You are already working, or you will be working in this, and I mean, so there are no grants for professional certification exams.
Thank you so much. And so this does bring us to the end of the webinar. I know there were a lot of questions, but Kashif has his information up on the screen. So if you want to ask him questions directly, please go ahead. Thank you, Kashif, for sharing that. Kashif, before I move on to my slides, do you want to say anything?
Just yeah, I would like to thank you and Access Employment for giving me these opportunities, and thank all of you from wherever you have joined in attending this seminar and webinar. Get in touch with me. Let me know if there are any questions. I'll try to sort it give you answers as best as I could, and then go for the exam. I mean, try to pass it before the exam changes.